So today I want to talk again about this submitting. So we are to submit to Him, to His Word, to His love for us. And one of the things in my just meditating and pondering what it means to submit and why we don't, it says one of the definitions was, right, to accept something that you have been resisting or opposing. Well, one way to look at that is, so we read the promise, right? Just for the sake of having something to argue with or to use as an example, Psalm 103, because there's so much right there. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless His holy name." I think it's interesting again because we're telling our soul, don't you forget one of His benefits. So it says the benefits of God, His promises, His word for you and for me, who forgives every one of all your iniquities, who heals each one of all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit and corruption, who beautifies, dignifies, and crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies, and who satisfies your mouth, your necessity, a desire, your personal age and situation with good, so that your youth renewed is like the eagles. So all of those are promises. That is His word for us. And so in reading that, and then we close our book and we go on about our day, how do we resist or oppose? How could we possibly resist all of that good that we've just found out is ours? Well, we reason. So if we are resisting or opposing, we are finding reasons that it will not work. We are reasoning within ourselves. We are deliberating or justifying what we know in the natural, which is opposing what God has said. And so in the midst of that, in the midst of our reasoning and our resisting and opposing and not even realizing that that's what we're doing, again, when I was digging into this and that phrase just jumped out at me, I was like, God, where have I built the strongholds of reasoning in my mind? Where have I built strongholds that would allow me to resist or oppose your promise? That I could rationalize and reason all the things, again, the natural that we already know. Show me, Father, because I don't want to resist His word. I don't want to oppose His word. I want to surrender to His promises and yield to Him, the one from where my expectation comes. And, we can't really comprehend the spiritual with the natural. Natural reason will never match up or meet or even come close to supernatural understanding. A couple of things that I want to talk about, this is from the Gospels. We'll look at Mark 2 first. And let me just get it. Mark 2. Okay. So this is a man with palsy healed. So Jesus having returned to Capernaum after some days, and it was rumored about that He was in the house. And so many people gathered together there that there was no longer room for them, not even around the door. And He was discussing the word. They came in, bringing the paralytic to Him, who had been picked up and was being carried by 4 men. And when they could not get him to the place in front of Jesus because of the throng, they dug through the roof above him, and when they had scooped out an opening, they let down the thickly padded quilt or mat upon which the paralyzed man lay. And when Jesus saw their faith, their confidence in God through him, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son," listen to what he says first, "your sins are forgiven and put away." That is, the penalty is remitted, the sense of guilt removed, and you are made upright and in right standing with God. Now, some of the scribes were sitting there holding a dialogue with themselves, and the King James says, and reasoning in their hearts. He says, "Why does this man talk like this? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins, remove guilt, remit penalty, and bestow righteousness instead except God?" And at once Jesus perceived, he understood in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves that he says, "Why do you reason these things?" The Amplified says, "Why do you argue and debate these things?" Of course, which is easier, Jesus says, to say to the paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven or put away," or to say, "Rise, take up your sleeping mat, and start walking." And so do you see what Jesus is asking them there? He says, you're trying to reason and use your human understanding and your natural knowledge to debate and to rationalize what I've just said. But if we're looking with spiritual eyes, to you to say, remit the sins, that his sins are forgiven, it's impossible for me to do. But it's also impossible for me to tell him to get up and walk. Which one is more difficult? Which one is more difficult? And so for us, there's also in Matthew 16, and we might go there tomorrow, but you can read in Matthew 16, but Jesus tells his disciples, "Why do you reason among yourselves, you of little faith?" And so our reasoning and our understanding of natural processes and natural laws can sometimes cause us to resist or oppose the promise without even realizing that that's what we're doing. And so the psalmist says here in Psalm 62:5, "My soul, you're waiting on the Lord, only upon God. Silently submit to him, because he is where your hope and expectation come from." All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.